Shabbat Shalom, everyone. You know, in life, we all go through trials, and sometimes we go through physical trials or relationship trials or um, just trials in life that sometimes they're little trials or they're big trials. And I want to talk about the big trials today, especially because sometimes Yah puts us in situations or allows us to be in situations that we have to rely on Him to get through it. And it's going to happen. And I want to just talk about a few points and a few scriptures that will encourage each and every one of us to do that when those trials come. Because if you're living right, if you're doing your best to fulfill out your calling as unto the Most High, you're going to have trials, and there's no way around it. It's just a part of life. So I just want to talk about just some different ways to do that. And first I want to talk about one particular scripture. That's Psalm 34:19, which says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivers him out of them all." And the way that I want to do that is I want to break it down into individual points and stress different words in this verse, just to emphasize each point and to really expand on it for what that verse really means. And then I also want to talk about one king who made a difference, and he did several different things step by step in a step-by-step process. When a large group of armies was coming to fight against Jerusalem, he took action and prayed to the Most High to fight the battle for him, and Yah did. So I want to talk about that, and then I'm going to close with a personal story, a short personal story, just to really bring it all together, and what Yah revealed to me what total trust in Him really is. So I got a lot of ground to cover, and it might seem a little bit long, but I ask you to just follow along and bear with me, and I pray that you enjoy it. So Psalm 34:19 says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivers him out of them all." And that word "many" can be translated either as many or great. So in life you may have many little troubles, or you may have one big one. Or you may have many little troubles during one big one, and that happens too. So and the point is that when you're living right, when you're living righteously and following His path that He has for you, Yah wants to deliver you through them all. So and again, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivers him out of them all. That word afflictions in Hebrew is ra, and that word ra can also be translated as bad, evil, unhappiness, misery, injury, calamity, distress, grief, harm, sorrow, or trouble. And isn't that just how life is? We go through times where there's evil all around us. We have enemies at work, enemies in our family, or just periods of unhappiness or misery, or even injuries. I mean, a year ago I had an injury where I broke my foot, and I was out of work for 7 weeks, and it was very hard. I had to walk on crutches, and I live on the third floor in my apartment. It's not easy at all, but Yah brought me through it, and He worked good out of it too. So you'll have calamities, distress, griefs, death in the family, trouble in your marriage, trouble at work. These are things that we all go through, and Yah allows it for your good to strengthen you and make you a better person. So, now, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivers him out of them all. You know, in life it's so easy to go through these distresses and these troubles, and you cry out to Yah, and you just, it's natural and understandable to ask, why me? What did I do? What did I sin? Did I make an error? Did I offend you somehow, Yah? No, you haven't. You're going through this trouble or through these trials so that He can strengthen you and make you stronger and a better person. And also so that down the road, when you meet someone who is going through a similar trial, through a similar ordeal, you can help them through it because you know how Yah has delivered you. So, and not only that, there's also Psalm 34 verse 21 talks about, they that hate the righteous shall be desolate or guilty. There are people out there who hate you for no other reason other than the fact that you are trying to do your best to live right as according to the Most High. And they can't stand it. And I've had troubles like this as well, and you may too. So, but Yah will bring you through it. He promises that. Okay, so many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivers him out of them all. When you go through these trials, you learn who Yah is and His character and what He can do. And that is what Yah wants for you. And He also wants you to learn His different characters. I mean, I want to talk about 5 different names of Yah. There are many, but I just want to talk about 5 that really drive it home for who Yah is and what He can do for you. In Genesis 22, chapter 22, verse 14, we find the name Yahweh Yireh, which means Yah is my provider. If you're going through financial trials, then you need to know that verse so that you can tell yourself and make it plain, make it well known to yourself, to your heart, that Yah is your provider. He will provide for you. In Exodus chapter 15, verse 26, we find the name Yahweh Rapha, which means Yah is He that heals you. Yahweh Rapha. In Judges chapter 6, verse 24, we find the name Yahweh Shalom. Yah is your peace. When you're going through a trial, when you're going through a problem, just remind yourself of that. Yah is your peace. Psalm 23, verse 1. Yahweh Ra'ah. Yah is my shepherd. When you're confused and you don't know what to do, or if you find yourself in a dark place, or you're lost, Yah is your shepherd, and He will guide you to where He wants you to go. But you just gotta trust Him. You have to have total trust in Him. And lastly, in Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 35, you'll find the name Yahweh Shammah, which means Yah is there. I personally like that one because sometimes when you go through trials and you go through just periods of loneliness or depression, remind yourself, Yahweh Shammah, Yah is there. So, lastly, I want to read this verse one more time. Psalm 34:19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivers him out of them all. Not some of them, all of them. Every single one. In His time, His way. Because ultimately it is all about Him. And when he delivers you, then you will tell others what he can do, what he has done for you. And then they will go through trials, and then they will tell us, and it just gets, it expands and expands and expands. And that's what Yah wants. He wants his name to be known for his children. So, as I said before, I want to talk about one king of Judah who he was going through a trial that seemed insurmountable. It was undoable by himself or by any man. In Second Chronicles chapter 20, verse 1, we find the story of a king named Jehoshaphat. And Jehoshaphat, there were multiple armies that were coming against him and the city of Jerusalem. The Moabites, the Ammonites, and others from Mount Seir came against Jehoshaphat to battle. And verse 3, and Jehoshaphat feared and proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. That is the first thing that he did. He declared a fast throughout all of Judah. Now, in life, fasting is going to make a big difference in your life, because fasting is important, prayer is important, but the two of them combined is really what gives the power as unto Yah, because it tells Yah and it tells yourself as well, this is important. This is something very serious to me and to those around me, that I need this to happen. And another way that I put it too, prayer is important, but prayer with fasting is more powerful. And fasting without prayer is really just starving yourself. So combine the two, combine the two, and watch what happens. Then we drop down to verse 12, and what Jehoshaphat does is, when speaking to Yah, and praying, he admits not only to himself, but also he openly says to Yah that we are powerless in this situation, but we know that you are all powerful and you can do all things. Again, chapter 20, verse 12, he says, we have no might against this great army that comes against us, nor do we know what to do, but our eyes are on you. And then drop down to verse 14 and 15. Yah can use someone to speak to you. Now be humble, because what happens is, in verse 14 and 15 is significant. Then the Spirit of Yah came on Jahaziel, the son of Zechariah, and he said, listen, all of Judah, and King Jehoshaphat, Yah says to you, do not be afraid, and do not be dismayed because of this great multitude. For the battle is not yours, but the battle belongs unto Yah. When you pray unto Yah, you have to allow yourself to be humble and listen to other people, because Yah can use someone around you to speak into the situation and to encourage you. You can use anyone, a wife, son, daughter, friend, colleague, fellow employee, or someone, whoever. But I mean, just allow your ears to be open to hear what the Most High will have to say to you. And then now, drop down to verse 17. He says, you will not need to fight this battle. Set yourselves, stand still, and see the salvation of Yah with you, O Judah and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. Go out against them tomorrow, for Yah is with you. And then continuing on, verse 20 and 21, it says, believe Yah your God, so that you will be established. Believe his prophets, so you will prosper. Verse 21, he appointed those who were to sing to Yah and give praise in holy array as they go out before the army and say, give thanks unto Yah, his loving kindness endures forever. Now, that's significant because in doing that, he set a precedent in people singing as unto Yah, and because the singing makes a difference, it made a difference in this battle, and we'll see that in a few verses. In verse 22, he says, when they began to sing and praise, Yah set ambushers against the people of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, who had come against Judah, and they were struck. So Yah did this. Once the singing came to his ears, then he set things in motion. Verse 23, the Ammonites and the Moabites stood against the inhabitants of Mount Seir to utterly kill and destroy them. When they finished the inhabitants of Seir, everyone helped to destroy each other. So the Ammonites and the Moabites turned on each other, and watch what happens next. Verse 24, when Judah came to the battlefield, they looked at the multitude, and there were dead bodies fallen to the ground, and there were none who escaped. So in this situation, in this battle that seemed insurmountable, unfightable by man, Yah did it for them. And Yah caused confusion in the minds, or whatever, in the minds of the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the people of Mount Seir, and they all fought each other, and and they all slaughtered each other, and the people of Judah didn't have to do a thing at all. It was already done. Verse 25, when Jehoshaphat and his people came to take their plunder, they found among them in abundance both riches and dead bodies and precious jewels, which they took for themselves, more than they could carry away. They took plunder for 3 days. It was so much. 3 days of plunder. So in whatever situation you're going through, whatever trial you're going through, Yah is going to work good out of it. He's going to do far better than you can possibly think or imagine. Just watch. Just watch. Verse 27, when they returned, every man of Judah and Jerusalem and Jehoshaphat and the forefront of them, to go again to Jerusalem with joy, for Yah made them to rejoice over their enemies. And that is what will happen with you. Yah will make you rejoice in front of your enemies. He's going to reestablish you over the people that broke you. Be it, actual men or evil spirits or whoever. He's going to do it. Just watch. Excuse me. Verse 28. And they came to Jerusalem with psalteries and trumpets unto the house of Yah. Verse 29, and the fear of Yah was on all the kingdoms of those countries when they had heard that Yah fought against the enemies of Israel. That is what Yah wants to do. Again, he wants to establish his renown not only within your mind, in your household, in your neighborhood, in your workplace. He wants to show other people what he can do, not only for the righteous, but also for the enemies of Yah, that he wants people to know, do not mess with my children. Do not mess with my children. Do not mess with people who are doing their best to live right for me, as unto me, because you will see what I am going to do to them. So, lastly, like I promised, I just want to talk about a personal story that happened to me recently, that Yah showed me what total trust is. My parents recently moved from Virginia to North Carolina, and my brother and I he was driving a moving truck, and I was driving a rental car behind him. And at first, I was driving the car ahead of him. Excuse me, let me back up. At first, I was driving the car ahead of him, and because I was driving a vehicle, I was driving a Nissan Altima. Obviously, I was able to drive a lot faster, and because he was driving a moving truck full of, household items, he wasn't able to drive as fast as I could. So we stopped for gas, and I told him, I said, "Why don't we switch places?" I said, "You drive ahead of me, and that will do two things. Number one, that will set the pace for how fast we drive, and number two, if you want to change lanes, then I will be able to get in the lane that you want to get in, and I will be able to, serve as a buffer to block any cars that are it may want to, to pass or get by." So he said, "Okay." So we did, and we were driving for a little while, and I'm driving behind him. And I hate driving behind trucks. I just hate it because you can't see around you can't see around the truck, and you can't see any cars, any any bad weather. You can't see anything at all like you normally can when you're just driving. But at one point, Yah spoke to my spirit, and he said to me, he said, "That is what total trust is like. You don't have to see the road ahead of you. You don't have to see what I see. All you have to do is trust me. Just trust me. And when I move, like when like when my brother used the turn signal to change lanes, when I move, you move. And that is total trust. That is what Yah wants to give to you, to establish in your heart. He wants to establish so much trust in Him from you that you, even if you can't see the road ahead of you, you know that He has you. You know that He knows. And you trust Him because He is Yah. So I hope this encourages you. And again, like I said in the previous video, I said if you'd like this video, share it and subscribe, and for future videos, because I've got a lot of messages to encourage people and to show that Yah loves them and all these things. So anyway, have a blessed day. Shalom.